The strobe lights sliced through the haze like blades as I asked the bartender, "Have you seen my wife?" He glanced up from polishing glasses, his face half-lit in neon blue. "Your wife," he echoed, raising his voice over the pounding bass. "Yeah, man. She left with the player." For a moment, it didn't register. The music was too loud, my thoughts moving too slowly. "The player?" I asked, leaning in closer. He nodded toward the exit.
Tall guy.
Black shirt, chain around his neck. "You just missed them." I stood there, frozen. My heartbeat sank into the rhythm of the music. Everything around me started to blur. The laughter, the flashing lights, the crowd swaying like waves. It all faded into distant noise. "She left with someone else." The words didn't feel real, like I was trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I scanned the dance floor again, desperate to spot her. Maybe the bartender was mistaken. Maybe he'd confuse her with someone else. But she wasn't there. The last time I saw her, she was laughing beneath the red lights, drink in hand, moving with the beat. I'd stepped away to grab another round. I was gone maybe 10 minutes. When I came back, her seat was empty. Now, nearly an hour had passed. My throat tightened as I pushed through the crowd, heading for the exit. Outside, the night air hit me hard, humid, thick with cigarette smoke. A small group stood near the parking lot, talking. I approached a woman in a glittering silver dress. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Did you see a woman, brown hair, red dress, about 5 feet 6 inches, leave with anyone?" She looked me over briefly and shrugged. "Yeah, she left a while ago with one of the VIP guys. The one everyone calls the player." The words hit like a punch. "Did she say anything?" "Not really," she replied. "Just smiled and walked out. Looked like she was having fun." My stomach twisted. I muttered a quick thanks and walked back to my car, my hands shaking as I reached for the handle. I sat inside, staring at the dashboard, trying to steady my breathing. The logical part of my mind struggled to break through the fog. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe she left with a group. Maybe she lost her phone. Maybe.
No.
The bartender's voice echoed again. "She left with the player." I dropped my head onto the steering wheel, the cold leather pressing against my forehead. I wanted to scream, but all that came out was a quiet, fractured laugh. I thought about the argument earlier that night, the one I'd brushed off as normal. She said I'd been distant, that I didn't see her anymore. I apologized, promised to do better, suggested we go out. She smiled and said, "Let's just have fun tonight. No drama." Now I understood what she meant. I drove home in silence, headlights cutting through the dark streets. My mind replayed everything, her perfume lingering in the car, her laughter dissolving into the club's noise, the way she kissed me before we left. It all felt like a lie now. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was gone. The house looked unfamiliar, cold, quiet, almost mocking. I stepped inside, turned on the lights, and stared at the living room. Her heels were gone from the doorway. The sweater she'd left on the couch that morning was missing. Small details, but together they told the whole story. She wasn't coming back tonight. I poured myself a drink, sat on the couch, and stared at the blank TV. Anger started to build, sharp and burning, cutting through the numbness. How long had this been happening? There had been signs, missed calls, late nights, girls' dinners that stretched past midnight. I'd wanted to believe her. Love makes you blind, but denial makes you foolish. My phone buzzed. A message from her. "Hey, don't wait up. Staying with a friend tonight. Need to clear my head." I stared at the screen, my grip tightening around the glass. No apology. No explanation. Just calm, distant detachment. I typed a reply, then erased it before sending. What was I supposed to say? Clear your head with him? Instead, I tossed the phone onto the table and took another drink. Hours slipped by. Each swallow burned less. The silence grew heavier, like the walls were closing in. Eventually, exhaustion pulled me under. When I woke up, sunlight filtered through the blinds. Her car was still gone. My phone showed 3 missed calls, all from her and 1 voicemail. I hesitated, then pressed play. Her voice came through shaky, rushed. "Mark, Please don't do anything stupid. It's not what you think. Just call me when you wake up, okay? Please. Not what I think. I let out a bitter laugh. That line was always the cheater's anthem. I didn't call back. Instead, I moved through the morning in a fog, coffee, shower, staring at my reflection. My face looked older, like I'd aged overnight. By afternoon, she finally came home. I heard the door open, then her heels tapping against the floor. She stopped in the living room doorway, still wearing last night's dress. Her hair was messy, her eyes red. "Mark," she whispered. "I can explain." I looked at her, silent. "It's not what it looked like," she began. "He's just a friend." I was drunk. I didn't mean to leave with him. Nothing happened. I stood up slowly. "You expect me to believe that?" Her lip trembled. "Please, I made a mistake, but it's not what you think." "You've said that twice now," I replied quietly. "You left with him. People saw. You lied to me again and again. What part of that isn't what I think?" She stepped closer. "I was angry, okay? You've been distant, cold. I just wanted to feel wanted again." Her voice broke, and for a moment, I saw the woman I fell in love with, the vulnerability in her eyes, the weight of guilt on her face. But it wasn't enough. "Do you feel wanted now?" I asked. She flinched. "Please don't do this. We can fix it." I shook my head. "You broke something that can't be fixed." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "I'm sorry." I nodded slowly. "So am I." She reached out, but I stepped back. That single movement said everything words couldn't. She lowered her gaze, defeated. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out. When the door shut behind her, the silence was overwhelming. I sank onto the couch, my heart racing, my mind blank. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the spot where she had stood, at the faint trace of her perfume still hanging in the air. The night before, I went looking for my wife, but what I found was someone I didn't recognize anymore. And somewhere between the flashing lights and the lies, the truth became clear. She didn't just leave the club with the player. She had been leaving me for a long time. I just finally caught up,